The goalkeeper. The goalkeeper is a last line of defense, and the only player allowed to use their hands inside the penalty area. Their main job is to stop shots and prevent goals. Without a good goalkeeper, even a strong defensive team can collapse very quickly, because one mistake can instantly change the outcome of the match. Also, modern goalkeepers do much more than just save shots. They help build attacks using short passes and long distribution from the back. However, this also means goalkeepers can become vulnerable when pressed aggressively by attackers. That is why many modern teams prefer goalkeepers who are calm under pressure and comfortable with the ball at their feet. The center back. The center back is positioned in the middle of the defense and focuses on stopping attackers. Their main job is to block shots, win tackles, and clear dangerous crosses. Because center backs play in central areas, they constantly deal with through balls and aerial duels inside the box. Without strong center backs, the defensive line can easily lose shape and leave huge spaces open. However, modern football also requires center backs to help start attacks from the back instead of only defending. That is why many top teams now use ball-playing defenders who can pass accurately under pressure. The fullback. Fullbacks play on the left and right side of the defense. Their job is to stop opposing wingers while also supporting attacks down the flanks. In older football systems, fullbacks mainly stayed deep and defended, but in modern football, they constantly overlap forward to create width and crossing opportunities. Without attacking fullbacks, teams can struggle to stretch the pitch properly. However, pushing too far forward can also leave dangerous spaces behind them during counterattacks. That is why fullbacks need both speed and stamina to recover quickly. The wingback. The wingback is one of the most physically demanding positions in football. Wingbacks play wider than normal fullbacks and are heavily involved in both attack and defense. Because formations like the 3-5-2 rely heavily on width, wingbacks constantly run up and down the pitch throughout the game. Without active wingbacks, these formations can become too narrow and predictable. But despite being dangerous offensively, wingbacks can also leave large spaces open if they fail to track back properly. That is why teams using wingbacks usually need extremely hardworking players in this role. The defensive midfielder. The defensive midfielder plays in front of the defense and acts like a shield for backline. Their job is to break up attacks and recover possession because they operate in central areas. Defensive midfielders constantly read passing lanes and stop counterattacks before they become dangerous. Without a strong defensive midfielder, the defense can become exposed very quickly. However, modern defensive midfielders also help control possession and start attacks from deep positions. That is why many teams value midfielders who can both defend aggressively and pass accurately under pressure. The central midfielder. The central midfielder connects the defense and the attack. Their role is to control possession, move the ball forward, and support both sides of the game. Because central midfielders are involved almost everywhere on the pitch, they usually touch the ball more than most players during a match. Without active midfielders, teams can lose control of the tempo and struggle to progress the ball properly. However, this role also requires extremely high stamina because midfielders constantly move between attacking and defensive situations. That is why many coaches prefer intelligent players who can read the game quickly in this position. The attacking midfielder. The attacking midfielder plays behind the striker and focuses on creating chances near the penalty box. Their job is to deliver key passes and break defensive lines because they operate close to dangerous areas. Attacking midfielders often become the creative engine of the team. Without a creative player in this role, attacks can become slow and predictable. However, attacking midfielders sometimes contribute less defensively compared to other midfielders. That is why teams usually surround them with more balanced midfield players. The winger. Wingers play near the sidelines and focus on stretching the defense using speed and dribbling. Their main job is to create chances from wide areas. Because wingers stay wide, they force defenders to spread out and leave more space open in central areas. Without dangerous wingers, attacks can become too narrow and easier to defend. However, modern wingers are not only creators anymore, because many also cut inside to score goals themselves. That is why today's wingers often need both dribbling ability and strong finishing skills. The striker. The striker is the main attacking player whose primary job is to score goals. They usually play closest to the opponent's goal and constantly search for scoring opportunities. Because strikers operate in crowded defensive areas, positioning and timing become extremely important. Even a small movement can create enough space for a shot. Without an effective striker, teams may dominate possession but still struggle to finish chances. However, modern strikers are also expected to press defenders and help during build-up play instead of only waiting inside the box. That is why many top strikers today combine finishing ability with movement, pressing, and link-up play. The false nine. The false nine looks like a striker, but instead of staying high up the pitch, they often drop deeper into midfield areas. Because defenders expect expect the striker to stay forward. This movement can confuse defensive positioning and create empty spaces behind the back line. Without proper coordination, defenders may follow the false nine and leave dangerous gaps open for wingers or midfielders to attack. However, if the false nine drops too deep without support, the team can lose presence inside the penalty area. That is why this role works best with aggressive wingers, making forward runs into attacking spaces.